What it is, my 10 Peace and Grease here, and we have Wukong Prime on all platforms as of the 6th. Now, I was really stunned by this because I know it was leaked, but I actually didn't expect it for probably at the soonest a couple weeks after TennoCon, so I was really kind of stunned by it, and it always kind of bugs me whenever things go out of order, and rightfully, Atlas should have had the next Prime, but Wukong, he jumped the line. He jumped the line, sir. You jumped the line. But I'm not that upset because I've really been enjoying my time with Wukong since this rework, and I really can't wait to get my hands on Wukong Kung Pao Chicken Prime. Wukong Prime. I can't wait to get my hands on him. With that said, we're going to be talking about the changes from the regular and the Prime variant, and we're going to be talking about where to get the relics, because I'm sure many of you out there are wondering, Peace, where do I get these relics for these new Primes? Well, I'm going to be helping you out there. So first, let's talk about some of the changes from the regular variants to the Prime variants. So when we talk about the Zeus, and let me pull up the codex here so that you can actually see what I'm seeing. Let's talk about the Nikandi first. So the Nikandi got a little bit of a buff here. And the regular Nikandi had a attack speed of 1, and the Prime does as well. They both have a 5 energy channeling cost, and they both deal a 1.5 time channeling damage. Now this is where the differences start. The regular Nikandi has a 10% crit chance. However, the Prime Nikandi has a 22% crit chance, so it's more than doubled. Furthermore, the critical multiplier on the standard Nikandi was 2, and the critical multiplier on the Prime is 2.4, so there's a bump there. Now the damage block for both is 35, and the leap attack damage for the regular Nikandi was 45, but that's been upped to 54 on a leap attack for the Prime Nikandi. Furthermore, the regular Nikandi had a 96 spin attack damage. Again, the Prime got a bump to 116 spin attack damage. Now, status chance didn't change that much. The standard Nikandi had 35% status chance. The Prime variant has a 36% status chance, so it only had a 1% bump. Now, the regular Nikandi had a 180 wall attack. That's been bumped up on the Prime variant to 216. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Now, the regular Nikandi had a rating of 45 in electric damage. However, the Prime variant has been reduced to 24 electric damage. Now, you're probably wondering at this point, but Peace, why? Well, let me explain why. The standard Nikandi didn't have any IPS listed. That's impact, puncture, slash. However, the Prime Nikandi does. Its impact is 13, its puncture is 6, and its slash is 11. So overall, the Nikandi looks like it's got some really decent, the Prime version, I should say, should have some really decent stats, and it should be really fun to use. Now, the Nikandi is actually a really good melee weapon, and in all the areas that you wouldn't think. And that is one area that I feel like gets overlooked the most is fun factor. The Nikandi is just a blast to use. Picture using the nunchuck as a frickin' propeller and gliding across the map, slaying enemies. It's just a frickin' hoot to use, man. It is a frickin' blast. I truly do enjoy it. Now, the Zeus, believe it or not, I actually really adored the standard Zeus. I think I've got 5 Forma in it at this point. I've got a Catalyst. I've done everything you can imagine to my regular Zeus, and it is awesome. And it's one of those weapons that I think just happens to get overlooked because most people see a crossbow and they think, "Meh, who cares," right? But why should you care? Well, a few things to keep in mind here, and that is that the Zeus is an full automatic crossbow, which means it's got a magazine capacity, which means there's no charge for as far as like drawing a string on a bow. And it has really good crit and status chance. You can build for either one or both in a hybrid build. In fact, if you go into a mission that's a quote bow only mission, the Zeus, as well as the Attica by the way, as well as the Nagatanka, are treated as regular bows. Now, while the Zeus is never meant to compete with bows such as the Daiku or the Dread, it does make up in those certain categories that detract from the bows. It actually causes a lot of players not to use them. And that is, again, the Zeus has a magazine capacity. It's full automatic. There's no charge rate on it. While it may not hit as hard, in my opinion, it's got so many good perks. So, bottom line, if you haven't used the Zeus, you're missing out because it's actually a fan-freaking-tastic weapon. So let's talk about the differences between the Prime and the standard Zeus. So, when we talk about the Zeus, the standard Zeus as well as the Prime both have 40 accuracy. Now here's where the changes kick in. The standard Zeus had a 20% crit chance, and the Prime now has a 26% crit chance, so a 6% buff to crit chance. They both have a 2.0 crit multiplier. Now, here's the really cool part. The standard Zeus had a 4.17 fire rate. The Prime, however, has a 5.5 fire rate. Yeah, substantial bump there. But it doesn't end there. The standard Zeus only had 20 magazine capacity. The Prime has 30. So that's a bump of 10. Now, another thing to keep in mind is the standard Zeus had a 2.5 second reload. The Prime's been bumped up to 3 seconds. So it's got a half a second increase in reload. And finally, status chance. The Zeus had a 35% status chance, the standard Zeus that is. The Prime has a 30% status chance, so it's actually been reduced. Crit chance has been increased, and status chance has been reduced, almost equally. So when we talk about impact, puncture, and slash, which is IPS, the standard Zeus had 5 impact, 75 puncture, and 20 slash. Now this is where things get interesting on the Zeus Prime as well. Impact, puncture, and slash, or IPS on the Prime, has a 21.2 impact, 26.5 puncture, and 42.3 slash, meaning it now deals more slash than anything. So yeah, the Zeus Prime is looking fantastic on paper. But that's probably not why you're here. You're probably wondering, but Peace, what about Wu Strong? Oh, Kung Pao Chicken Wukong. What's the deal with him? Does his stats, have they been improved along with his rework? Short answer, you betcha. They certainly have. I don't know what this is. Oh, I know what it was. So let's take a look at Wukong Prime. Now, Wukong Prime, his overall appearance, unfortunately for me, it's okay. The Wukong Prime appearance is just kind of, it's alright. But I kind of was hoping more for the Prime variant of Wukong. As it stands now, I think, unlike a lot of Primes in the game, with the exception of Mag, I'm probably using a skin on Wukong Prime because I'm okay with Wukong Prime's appearance. It's just really not that impressive to me. It doesn't really stand out. But let's talk about the stats. So Wukong, the standard Wukong frame had a 250 armor. The Prime variant got a 25-point bump to 275 armor. But that's not all. Standard Wukong has a 120 energy. Prime variant got a 10-point buff to 130 energy. They both have 150 health. Now the standard Wukong has 100 shields, and the Prime variant got a 20-point buff to 120 shields. And finally, sprint speed got buffed on the Prime version as well. The standard Wukong has a 1 sprint speed, and the Prime variant has a 1.05 sprint speed. So an ever so slight bump to sprint speed. So really nothing to complain about there. So with all of those things said, you're probably here for one thing, and that is peace. Where do I get the damn relics? Okay, well first let's talk about the relics you need. Let's talk about Wukong first, because again, most of you are all probably here for Wukong. So there are 4 relics for Wukong Prime: a Lith, a Meso, a Neo, and an Axii. Now, I actually just ended up using a lot of my Lith W1 relics, which is supposed to be a rare relic, on top of which this is actually the gold part for Wukong, the main blueprint. So where do you go to get these Lith W1s? Short answer, in the void on Hepit. Now this is a capture mission. In under a minute, you can run the Hepit capture mission very quick and very easy. No problems, and the Lith W1s do drop from there. All right. So let's talk about the Meso Relic. Where do you go to get the Meso Relic? All right. Now, the Meso Relic, as well as the Neo Relic, which I'll get to momentarily, you can get from Wukong on the Void. Again, this is a capture mission, just ever so slightly higher level than Hepit. But again, in under a minute, you can run this Wukong capture mission, and you can get the Meso K2 relics from there, as well as the Neo S12 relics. They will drop from the Wukong capture mission on the Void as well. So as you're running the Wukong capture mission, you have a chance to get the Meso relic as well as the Neo S12. That leaves the Axii G2 relic. Where do you get these, Peace? What do you do? Actually, the location that I personally prefer is Zabala on Eris. Now, a couple things to keep in mind about Zabala is it is a dark sector survival mission. It's really not, I think it's like, last time I checked, 30 to 40 level. So it's not horribly, a high-end game. But at the end of the day, it's easily runnable, even if you want to solo it. In fact, even just me soloing it, it's pretty easy to stick around for about an hour. Once you start getting around that hour, the ancient healers start coming out in droves, and you know anything about survival and staying in one for an hour or more, yeah, they are strong. They just look at you funny and they can down you. But Zabala, keep in mind, the first 2 rotations are garbo. They're garbage. They are literally just this piddly amount of credit caches. So the first 10 minutes, you have to stay and just keep going. All right? Because unfortunately, Zabala, those first 2, the 5-minute and the 10-minute, your first 5 minutes, I should say, and then your first 10 minutes on this mission, it's just going to be credit caches. But then after that is when the relics will start coming in. And you can get the Axii G2s, as well as those Neos that I mentioned. So that's where I personally farm my Wukong relics. Now there's another reason which I'll touch on here briefly once I tell you where I farm the Zeus Prime relics as well as the Nikandi Prime relics, and I think you'll probably recognize the pattern here. So let's talk about the Zeus. Really, as I said, a weapon that I'm actually really fond of, and I just think it gets overlooked. So there are a total of 5 relics for the Zeus Prime. So let's take a look at the Lith L1 relic. Where do you go to farm the Lith L1 relic? Guess what? You just go to Hepit. That's right, the same capture mission you're getting the Lith relic for Wukong Prime, you can also get the Zeus Prime Lith relic. That brings us to the Meso relics. Where do you go to get the Meso relics, Peace? Wukong on the Void. That's the same capture mission we just got talking about with Wukong Prime. So run that Wukong capture mission. Along with that Meso relic, it also has a chance to drop the Neo Z3 relic. Again, it shows up right here in the codex for Wukong. So you have a chance to get the Neo Z3 as well as that Meso relic for the Zeus Prime. Let's talk about the 2 Axii relics now. Where do I farm the 2 Axii relics? Zabala on Eris. That's the same exact location I just talked about with the Axii relic, as well as the Neo relic for Wukong Prime. Zabala on Eris. Both Axii relics will drop from Zabala. Remember to just run the first 10 minutes and ignore them completely, and then after that, the relics for rotations will start to drop. So that's where I farm those relics. But let's talk about the Nikandi Prime. Where do I farm the relics for those? So there are 3 relics for the Nikandi Prime, but let's talk about the Meso N7 first. The Meso N7, where do I farm that? Uko, the capture mission on the Void. Now, most of you already noticed in a pattern here. But you can also get the Neo Relic to drop from there as well. And that would be the Neo R2. Again, you run the Uko capture mission on the Void, you have a chance to get both the Meso as well as the Neo Relic. But it doesn't stop there. Where do you get the Axii P1 relics for the Nikandi Prime? Zabala on Eris. That same survival mission. So, what am I trying to say with all of these relics? Quite simply, what I'm trying to say is there are 2 locations you can go to get all of the Lith, Meso, Neo, and Axii relics for all of the current primes. Those locations are Hepit in the Void, a capture mission for your Liths, Uko, a capture mission on the Void for your Meso and Neos, and finally Zabala on Eris, a survival mission. Those are only 3 locations. All these relics can drop from these 3 locations. So with all those things said, let me put a little disclaimer in here. These are the locations that I personally am running, okay? I'm not saying that these are the end-all, be-all, best locations ever and nothing else, everything else sucks. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that these are the locations that I'm farming and I've had pretty decent luck at getting them. However, if you ask 2010 where to get these relics, you'll get 20 different answers. And none of them are wrong. Basically, this is the bottom line. Pick your favorite mission type, pick your favorite location, and go ham. Run those missions. I'm simply making a suggestion and kind of pushing the information forward where I personally am farming my relics. Alright, this isn't some kind of disinformation. This is legitimate me telling you where I'm farming my relics. Now, on top of the locations I've already mentioned, you can also farm these relics on some of them on Cetus bounties, some on Orbalis bounties, some on both Cetus and Orbalis bounties. You can also use the Syndicate Relic Packs, which are a great way to earn some of these relics. On top of that, there are some of these relics you can get from Archwing missions. If you really felt so inclined to do so, yep, you can do that as well. Suffice it to say, yeah, you can also run some Sanctuary Onslaught to get these relics. I actually ran quite a bit of Elite Sanctuary Onslaught to see whether or not I can get these relics already refined and ready to rock. However, in all of my Elite Sanctuary Onslaught waves, I didn't get a single relic, not one. However, running Sanctuary Onslaught, I think in my numerous runs at like the 9th wave, I think I saw maybe 1 relic. And yeah, I'm not going to spend that much time running regular Sanctuary Onslaught to get 1 damn relic. That's just me though. Maybe your RNG is better. I'm sure it is. But all of these locations are something to consider depending on the type of player you are and what you prefer. But hopefully that helps you guys and gals out as far as where to farm these relics. Let me know down in the comment section your preferred location. Where have you had luck with getting these relics to drop? And until next time, peace and grace.